Meeting, Town of Essex Selectboard meeting.
Just unmute.
You're still muted? All right, so now I'll call the Select Board meeting for the Town of Essex for Monday, October 16th, 2023 to order.
Recording in progress.
Are there any agenda additions or changes from staff?
None from staff.
Any requests from board members for agenda changes? Okay, then we will move on to public to be heard. Public to be heard is a time in the meeting when attendees can address the board on town business that's not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak during public to be heard, you raise your hand in the room, or if you're online, you can use the raise your hand feature. If you float your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, a reactions button will appear. If you click on that, it'll give you the opportunity to raise your hand. I have one hand up in the room, so come on up, sir, and or so far one hand up in the room. Introduce yourself and state your business. And leave the microphone, yeah. Okay.
Hi, my name is Joe Chastity, and I'm the owner of Essex Country Club. And recently, maybe 3 weeks ago, there was a golf cart stolen. Brand new, and $7,000. I reported it to the police, and I've contacted the police for, let's say, an update. I asked for the officer that handled it to contact me. Haven't heard back from anyone from the police department, and I'm just wondering, as a taxpayer, what do I have to do to get any cooperation from the police? Not that they're going to go out and find and relieve, but I'd at least like to get a little response from the police department. I'm a taxpayer and wondering how I get cooperation from the police.
Oh, thanks for bringing your concern forward, and I'm sorry you had that experience. I don't know, Greg. Is that
Same thing. I apologize for the experience. I'll be in touch with the police chief and the lieutenant and make sure we have somebody get in touch with you.
Yeah, I would just like to have a good response, not a response of patronizing me, and because I'm here bringing up the subject, I'd wish they had taken an effort. Not that they can go out and find it, but I have some thoughts, and I'd like to express them to the police officer, and maybe that'll bring some fruition, and maybe it won't. But I'd at least like to get an ear from the police department regarding this. It's not a loaf of bread or a case of beer at a local store. $7,000. And it's easy to say, well, your insurance will cover it. However, you turn it into your insurance, they just raise the rates down the road to cover the loss they paid me. I don't want to do that. I want to recover the golf cart.
Yep. Okay.
So that's why I'm here, and I'm asking the select board, what steps do I have to take to get a little cooperation from the police department?
We'll make sure somebody reaches out to you.
Oh, okay.
Take care of that. Yes.
All right, Andy, thank you for your help.
All right. Thanks for bringing it.
Thank everybody for listening.
Thanks for coming in.
Hey, Ken, I think your hands was up as well.
Real quick, just wanted to remind you folks that this weekend is the Indian Brook Cleanup. The Conservation and Trails Committee is hosting that activity. It's set for Saturday with a rain day on Sunday. Both days are looking pretty crappy right now, so I'm thinking Saturday is the least crappiest of the days. So hopefully we'll get to see one of you folks there, at least maybe two, and help out a little bit. And I just wanted to mention that when we did the public outreach for the town plan, Essex Country Club and Joe was kind enough to host one of those meetings, actually. So hope we can get some satisfaction. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken. Anybody else in the room want to speak during public to be heard? Hey, Betsy Dunn, I see your hand.
Great, thank you. First, I want to say a great thank you to the Parks and Recreation Department. Allie and Jennifer really made that Explore Essex work. And it was a lot of fun, and a lot of people were there, and the kids enjoyed themselves as well. Thank you very much. The other thing I want to talk about is our opioid crisis here in town. And the distribution of naloxone and is our health officer Sharon being active in this endeavor. And I'd like to see a dashboard possibly on the website so that we can see how we're doing as far as this is concerned. But I would like a public forum. I think people in the town need to know what we're doing, what is happening, because a lot of people don't even know. And it is happening, and it's moving out of Burlington, and it's coming here, and it's going to come fast. And I don't think we can put our heads in the sand. Thank you.
Lorraine, I see your hand as well.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, I have years of experience in nonprofit, and one of the things I found that we needed to work on to be more efficient with our very small staff was to create manuals for our committees, our volunteers, our different annual events. And I'm thinking that we may not have any for any of our committees in terms of some of the infrastructure, like how to upload things or when agendas have to be posted. And something like that could be very valuable in terms of creating redundancies and having access to procedures and processes and requirements online on a server, on a shared server. And the other thing I'd like to request again is that each commission is assigned an email address that is not governmental. It was hard to tell from our public records request if the Planning Commission did receive our email about the issue that we recently had. And again, we're here to help. We're not trying to be adversarial, just trying to make it easier and definitely lessen the load on the staff. So I'd appreciate if you can check into if we have any manuals for each and how best to do that. Thanks.
Thanks, Lorraine. Mary Post.
Hi, Andy. Thank you very much. I too am concerned, like Betsy is, about what's happening in our community with drug overdoses. I don't remember how long ago it was, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago or longer, where I saw a police report on how many overdoses and even deaths there were, and there were so many right in Essex. I'm not sure that our community is even aware of the fact of what's going on here. And I care about my neighbors. I care about the people that live in our whole area here. And I really would like our town to try to come up with something, to think of some kind of action that we can do. Obviously, I really want, I would like Narcan to be available in many, many places for people to pick up. I also watched an ad on TV the other day where New York State is heavily advertising the fact that they are getting.
This is the zoning meeting, the select board meeting, because
Anyway, that's okay. I saw an ad anyway in New York where they were telling people that they were going to get Narcan out to a lot of places where people can go. Don't be ashamed to pick it up. You might save a life. And then they also are giving out these test strips. So I guess what little I know is that people can use a test strip to see how pure whatever drug it is they're taking, that it doesn't have that one that'll kill you very easily. I really don't know that much about it. But bottom line is, I hope we can get our community involved in this and get our health officer involved in this and get our select board involved in this, because I do care about everybody that lives here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. There has been some discussion about that. I don't know if you want to comment, Greg, on the Narcan question and the...
Yeah, we're and if Marguerite's here, so she's been working on it a little bit more than me. Just quickly, we are looking at getting some Narcan, some doses available at some of our public facilities, public locations. There's a step and some processes to get that through the state. We have some staff working through that. And Marguerite, if there's anything to add, please jump in.
Hi, Greg. Yeah. No, I don't think there's not more to add about that. I will say that we could look into just being more clear about where our settlement funds that we've gotten for the abatement are going. Happy to do that. We've had some discussion about that last spring, and that we do use community outreach through the police, and they do a lot of this work and have been for a while. So maybe it's just bringing it a little more out into the open of what that looks like. We can look into doing something like that. But we are working with our public safety experts here in Essex to make sure that we can, respond in an emergency as needed and do the best by the community as possible. No problem.
And Greg, there was a question about uploading stuff to our website.
Mhm.
Do we have volunteers do that, or is it general?
No,
staff?
that is staff. When people come in, they get trained and they work with Tammy, and Tammy's always available. And sometimes we offer additional training as people need it to go through that piece. Tammy and I have talked about creating more of a, whether it's a one page or a small number of sheets, just to have all of our staff having similar expectations as to what it means to be a staff representative to a board and committee. Some of that would include how to upload. Some of it would include open meeting law, making sure agendas are posted in a timely manner, minutes are posted, stuff like that. So I'd say we're halfway towards what's being asked, and it's on our mind. It's on our radar.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other public to be heard? Don't see any hands online. No hands in the room. So let's move on to our first business item, which is a presentation from Tree Farm Management Group about 2023 operational and financial summary. So come on up, introduce yourselves, and
Evening.
evening.
Hello. I'm Sven Eckloff, president of the Tree Farm Management Group.
And Jim Gowdy, vice president.
And we have other members behind us. Allie. So thanks for having us. Part of the new management plan, we have to sit here and tell you how the tree farm is going or how it went this year. There's a lot of positives and a few negatives, as you would expect with any endeavor like this. I just want to remind or just go over that we have 9 board members now on the board. The last time I sat here, we had 6. We've increased our membership by 3, mainly local people that live nearby the tree farm. We are looking to add 2 more. And according to the documents that we signed, those people have to come from the municipalities or the school board or somewhere. We've tried that. We're just waiting to hear who wants to be interested to join our board. So we're doing our part to increase our membership on the board level, so we're better represented tree farm. I just want to real quick, I had a field trip maybe 3 weeks ago now, where I invited Greg and Marguerite and members of Essex Junction to come actually take a tour of the tree farm, and because some people have never been there. And we literally walked the whole facility from fields to trails to parking. It was about an hour long, and I would just want to open up the door for you guys if you've never been there to come get a tour. Pretty remarkable area. It's 99 acres or 98, 99 acres. And it's probably the busiest place in Essex that you're not even aware about. So the tree farm, real quick, just in summary, is the home to Essex Rec fall soccer programs that Ellie helps run. There's over 400 soccer players this year. This fall, it just came to a close on Saturday. Essex United Soccer Club, which is the club I represent, also has been calling it home for 20 plus years. Nordic Soccer Club has been there as long. Essex High School has all their
Sorry.
Essex High School has all their JVA and JVB soccer games there, which has actually been a busy season.
Scott, I think I muted you by accident. I was trying to mute somebody else, and I think I get you. I'm sorry. So for those of us, so everyone at home can hear us. Thanks.
And then last, on the school side, the high school has their big cross-country event at the tree farm every fall, right?
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend, where they have the whole facility and they use the trails as their running network, which I think is just over 3 miles. So the school is using the tree farm quite a bit. Burlington Rugby, men and women, the Vermont Soccer Association, the VSA, they pretty much are our biggest client this time of year. Vermont Women's Soccer League, and our fastest growing leagues are our Versus Co-ed adult leagues and our Elite 8 adult leagues. Those are our 2 fastest or growing clients of the tree farm. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at our numbers. Long story short, this year has been actually a really good year financially, at least on the revenue side of the tree farm. Revenue is expected to be in line with what we were estimating. We still have money that may be coming in the door that we're expecting. We should end around $165,000 to $170,000 of money coming in. Unfortunately, when you get this much rain this summer, there's been a tremendous amount of expense. The tree department has never, since I recall, a year like we've had this year. We increased our field rental rates last January by 10%. So now we're charging $66 an hour to rent a field at the tree farm, which is well within reason of our competitors and other places in New England that actually has real grass, not turf. We kind of pride ourselves with having real grass. This year, well, with the new management agreement, we were encouraged to include other sports at the tree farm. This year, we had our first big lacrosse tournament where they rented out the whole facility. It was 802 lacrosse. We had some issues at the lacrosse tournament. I'm sure you guys have all heard about the parking on Old Colchester Road. To make a long story short, the weather was the biggest problem of the tournament, not necessarily lacrosse. Our fields were destroyed, just like the high school's fields were destroyed. Hence why our added costs for this year. But I do think lacrosse was a big, it's a big sport, growing sport around here, and we would probably welcome them back. We just have to better manage it going forward with parking and everything else. We had an ultimate frisbee tournament. The Essex Rec Soccer has their big jamboree, which was just last weekend. And believe it or not, we had a big football jamboree there. We've never had football at the tree farm. We had it this year as well. I was in favor of having Essex Chargers come, but we had the competitors, the Buccaneers, come because all of their fields are ruined from all the rain. The real benefit in a rainy season is the tree farm actually drains quite well, so our fields stay in pretty good shape. Everywhere else in Chittenden County, they were almost unplayable for months on end for all sports. So we have benefited from all the extra demand because people are looking for any space to rent that's playable. I don't know if you've ever been to the tree farm, but just in short, every given day at the tree farm, including today, there's hundreds of kids there every single day, training, soccer, other activities, and on weekends, that's the busy time. Our parking lot's full, and it's hundreds of kids coming in. For instance, Allie's Rec Soccer has 400 kids alone on Saturday morning at the tree farm, and then when they get out, another round of group kids and adults come and use it. Our extra expenses this year were not really planned. It's a result of the weather. We did expect to be in the red a little bit this year by about $6,000 or $7,000. We're expected to be in the red about $25,000 this year. That's impacted our bank balances rather significantly. The main point is we had to close our main complex. As you drive into the tree farm, the big open field on your right, which is about 5 fields, it was almost unplayable after the lacrosse. So we decided to close it and put money back into it. We're going to open it up back in the spring. But that's about $20,000 of material, fertilizer, sand, you name it, had to go back into that. This year, we also replenished or bought all new soccer nets, soccer flags, which we haven't done in over 10 years. Yeah. So we're really trying to reinvest in the properties. That was planned. And then every time you redo a field, guess what you need to add? More water. And we have 2 water reels that really, Greg, you saw them when it works when you were there. We had to buy a new water reel, which is about $12,000. So we have all this extra expense. We had the money to do it. We're reinvesting in the facility, which is our main goal. That's where our focus has been. Our 3 tournaments, Nordic Soccer has a big tournament every year, Essex United, and lacrosse. The 3 rainiest Saturdays this summer were the 3 tournament weekends. Not to sound so sour, but the road at the tree farm, which is dirt, got destroyed every single time. And we're usually fighting the dust problem at the tree farm. This year, we're fighting potholes that were giving people flat tires. So thanks to the town of Essex, Public Works, they have come and helped us a few times when they had time. We obviously paid for their services. But I'm hoping going forward, we can have a better relationship with them, assuming we pay for those services to maintain the road. We do get a lot of traffic in there. But I think the road is going to be our project next year. So far, our focus has always been on the fields. I think next year we start working on the road a little bit more. Real quick, I touched on a lot of this stuff. Our focuses this year, going into the year, was 1, expand our user base, which I think we've tried to make some headway in. Lacrosse, frisbee, football, soccer, and rugby, which is great. We were looking to increase our board members per our management agreement, which we have tried our best. We're up to 9. We need 2 more, but they have to come from the municipalities, and no one has signed up yet. So we're waiting to hear from that. In a perfect world, we would have someone from the school board or the school district on our board, since they have soccer and cross country events and everything else there. That would be a perfect world. Another thing personally that I wanted to do is improve the relationship between municipalities and the tree farm management group. I know in the past we've kind of been on our own island, and it's part of the town of Essex. I think once I invited Greg and Regina and others to come visit, I think it's just better for you guys to know what's going on there and to have more of a dialogue of how things are going. So this is the first step. I don't think we've ever had an annual meeting here. This is our first one in front of the select board. So another thing is the parking on Old Colchester Road. So when we have tournaments, or actually when we have anyone that wants to park there, they park there. And as soon as one person parks there, it's a domino effect. Currently there's 1 no parking sign on Old Colchester Road, and you can't park on the road. It's too narrow. And we can't enforce it. We're not police. I'm out there every other day putting signs up just to help maintain the problem. But I have gone to Public Works at Essex Junction asking for better signage to help solve this problem. We do have plenty of parking at the tree farm, but people are lazy and they park there and they're stuck into the woods and their fields right there. So we're trying to solve that problem. That wasn't really a problem until this year with the lacrosse tournament. But we're trying to get out in front of it and adding our own signs just on weekends, which is our busiest time. One thing we owe you guys is the management plan. By December 31st, we have to owe you guys a management plan. We've never really done that. I would love to sit with Greg or others just to get what exactly you guys are looking for. I don't think it'll be too hard to put together. We kind of have our own plan, but just to put it in a way that you want, I would love to have a further discussion on that and get that to you by year end. And the last thing that we are working on is obtaining our 501(c)(3) nonprofit status. It's in our management agreement that we had until the end of the year to get that. We are in the process of working with that. We've hired an accounting firm in town to help us get there. And we're hoping by year end we'll have that. So, next year, just real quick, our focus is, as of right now, we have 2 more board meetings this year. We meet monthly, sometimes more than that. We actually are meeting tomorrow for an end of season walkthrough for the board at the tree farm, just to see what we have to focus on for next year. But right out of the gate is our tournament planning is my focus, and I think we just have to do better at managing tournaments. It's a huge draw here for people, but we have to manage the crowd better, and also have more power on when we can cancel a tournament. So far, our current agreement, it was always Essex United and Nordic. We have a seat at the board, so we can stop things if needed. When you have an 802 lacrosse who doesn't have a seat, they just went with it. We just need to be more present there and have more control over the actual tournament. Again, add more board members. And lastly, I'm in the process of hiring O'Leary Burke, which I think the town of Essex has used in the past. I want to do a site plan on the road and parking. That is the biggest thing we need to try to solve. We obviously can't afford to pave it. That's a perfect situation, but we need to solve the water. The water just kind of stays on the roadways and the parking lot. And when you have all the cars that we do that come through the road on any rainstorm, gets ruined pretty quickly. So we've hired the engineering firm to do a site plan. So we can kind of have a schedule, a 3 to 5 year schedule on what we're going to accomplish this year, next year, and so forth. And hopefully over the long term, we can solve, or at least make the parking experience a little better. So, and lastly, this year was a big expense side. So we're hoping the weather agrees and we can reduce our costs. I'm a business guy first and foremost, so reducing costs is always a focus of mine without jeopardizing all the work we've done into the fields. And reduce costs, keep revenue the same, or maybe possibly increase it. Inflation has really hit us, and fertilizer costs and paint costs have been, last year paint cost was 3 times the amount that we normally get. So you're wondering why we use paint. He has to line the fields every 3 days, 4 days?
Well, once a week.
Once a week if it's not raining.
Yeah.
And the paint is very expensive. It's come back to earth a little bit, same with fertilizer. So we're hoping next year our costs are a little more stabilized. We don't need to buy all new equipment or new water reels. And the only thing we're going to be focused on is field rotation. We try to close one field down a year to let it rejuvenate and keep the grass good. But the parking will be our primary focus. That's all I really got. It's a lot. So we've been busy over there.
Yeah.
And I would, by all means, if you've never been there, I'd be happy to meet you guys there just to give you a little tour of it. So,
Right.
I live at the tree farm 7 days a week. I got 3 kids that are there 7 days a week. So it's, I might as well do something productive if I'm there.
Yeah, I coached rec soccer for many, many, many years. I spent a lot of time over there myself.
Yeah.
And nowhere near as much as you, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it is encouraging that the soccer in general is back from pre-COVID days. I can't speak for Nordic, but your numbers are up. Essex United's numbers are up. Town soccer, rec soccer numbers are way up. So it's pretty encouraging that people are getting out and exercising again and having fun and using the tree farm as a great facility right here in town.
Any board member questions or comments?
So were the issues with the lacrosse because there were so many more players? I mean, because you don't have parking with lots of soccer players, but all of a sudden you had a parking problem with because they're a larger group.
Yeah. I think the issue was, long story short, it was their first tournament. We were led to believe there was only going to be 100 teams, and I think there was a bit more.
Okay.
So, and I think that happened with the Essex Westford School District at the high school. They had the same problem, same parking. Their fields were ruined. I just think we need, as a board, speaking about the tree farm, we just need to control the tournaments a little bit better. Essex United's tournament in Nordic, we've been doing this for decades now, and it's always worked and it's benefited the programs and the tree farm. This is our first time getting outside of that, and I think we learned our lesson. So.
The issue was on the Sunday, it started to pour down with rain about 5 o'clock in the morning, and it carried on for like 5 or 6 hours. So by lunchtime, the fields were just underwater, and the plug should have been called around then.
6 inches of water.
Yeah. Saturday, they had just as many people there. There was no issues on the Saturday for the most part.
Okay.
It was the Sunday with the rain is where it all started.
Yeah, really, it takes one car to park on Old Colchester Road, and then, they're doing it, we're going to do it. And within 30 minutes, the places, and there's no signage right now on the tree farm side of the road. And I'm out there, I've actually been moving traffic along, and they know I'm not a police officer, so some listen, some don't.
I must say that in listening to your presentation, I'm much more encouraged with what I'm hearing than what I heard before. So thank you, gentlemen, for your hard work.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Forgive my ignorance, but do you have or are there any plans for anything in the winter at the tree farm, or is it?
Yeah, so the tree farm, we closed the front gate there, which is on the Essex, the main entryway. I'm not sure if you've been there. We closed that after Halloween, Alan? I think so.
Yeah.
29th? Yeah, there's a big Halloween event there for the little kids for soccer, and then we close it. But we don't, as a board, do anything, but there's still access to the tree farm. You can park in the lot next door, walk the walkways there. Many people use it as all the hiking trails, but there's really no activities. One, we don't have lighting there, so we have to kind of close when the sun goes down, right? The parking, everything's dark. But we just have always been a 3-season.
3 seasons. Okay.
Yeah.
Those fields get aerated like about a week after that, and then after that, those fields we don't want anybody on the fields basically.
You give it a rest. That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of work left to be done at the tree farm, aeration, all that stuff. The work that gets done now makes the fields much better in the spring.
Thank you.
Greg's hand.
Yeah, Kendall, I forget which document it is for the tree farm, but there's one that says it's closed from November through April.
Okay.
So the people go, it's kind of like day use, individual use, but there's no tournaments, there's no leagues like that happening
Okay.
in the winter.
Thank you.
We do have insurance though through that whole time.
So you cover it in the winter time, even though,
Yeah.
doesn't seem fair.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to say thank you. This is a much different conversation than we've had in the past, and I very much appreciate the additional information and the interest in collaboration going forward.
Yeah, it's a personal thing. I became president. Has it been a year now?
Yeah.
I'm a optimistic person by nature, and I think it's better we all work together than kind of making our own. It's a beautiful piece of property, and everyone gets to enjoy it.
was actually wondering if you saved on irrigation costs this last summer.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Just joking.
so when we closed the main complex, we actually had to keep watering. We've been watering it every single day.
Well, we say that though, but that front complex, we've watered that every day since in the month of September and October, and we haven't had as much rain. Whereas in previous summers, we've just closed down one field. As Sven said, we've that whole complex, which is 3 times.
So managing the same
size.
number, more clients than we normally have on half as many fields, it's been a real challenge on field rotation and moving goals every single day. But you know, the grass is why people use the tree farm first and foremost, right? Besides the openness in the trails, it's the grass why people rent the fields, right? And we love water there because it drains so well, but you need a lot of water to keep the grass free, right?
I was just going to comment that is it fair to say that everybody is comfortable with the arrangement the way that it is now from both perspectives? Everybody involved? Just curious. I would say yes.
I mean, I think we're 2 of the parties that are involved. Speaking for us, and Allie chime in, Marguerite chime in. They've been working on it more than I have. I think there's been improvement. I think we're going in the right direction, and like you've all said, it's positive to see this. Curious to hear your take, and I haven't heard an update from Essex Junction as of late. So
we're doing the same thing with Essex Junction next week.
Thank you.
But we do have 2 years. We have our term is up on the management agreement and lease agreement, December 31st, 2025.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question, and it's not personally my concern, but do you see any problems being a nonprofit by the end of the year?
A great question. We are working on that now. We recently discovered a couple years ago or a couple months ago, there was a couple years where tax returns as a nonprofit were not filed on time. That's why we hired a firm to know. We gave them pretty much every bank statement possible, so they ensured us that things will get done. This happened on the last regime.
I'm not worried about it personally, but I just hate to see you guys go through and do all this great, amazing work and come and have the communication and.
Yeah, one thing I like to point out is that we're a volunteer board. Most of us do this
poke you with the
on our own
pen
dollar.
and say you don't have the nonprofit.
We're doing our best
Hopeful,
there.
yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for coming in. And,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we owe you guys a management plan.
Keep up the good work. Yeah. Keep moving forward. All right, let's move on to next business item, presentation from Town Meeting Television on fiscal year 24 update and fiscal year 2025 budget request. Oh,
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Jordan Mitchell. I'm Town Meeting TV Operations Director.
And I'm Megan O'Rourke, and I'm one of the directors of CCTV.
so just a comment, your voice is very, very quiet. I'm thinking.
Can you hear
Margaret
me?
Can't hear you.
We'll get closer to the microphone because we know how to do that. Yes. Hi, can you hear us better? Great. So my name is Megan O'Rourke, and I am one of the directors at CCTV. Thanks. Welcome.
And I'm Jordan Mitchell, one of the directors at Town Meeting TV. So yeah, we're here to present what is our fiscal year 24, your fiscal year 25 budget. That might be where some confusion is, but our fiscal year 24, your fiscal year 25, as well as give an overview of the last fiscal year. So last year, we produced and supported 1,386 programs for the community, and 362 of these programs were municipal coverage. For Essex, we produced 40 select board and planning commission meetings, and then we had some non-municipal coverage, such as Memorial Day and Juneteenth. Contract stipulates production of 3 meetings a month, and at least 1 other general production per month. We covered 111% of the budgeted number of programs, covering 40 out of the 36 expected meetings. Town Meeting TV is funded in large part by cable subscribers from Comcast and Burlington Telecom. Municipal contributions help to cover other operating costs. This year, we're requesting an FY25 Essex municipal contribution of $13,891 for general operating funds. This is approximately 5% higher than last year's contribution of $13,230. You can see past municipal support request history and projections on packet page 22 or our page 22. Secondly, we have an exciting update from the legislature that we're looking for your support to help get over the finish line. CCTV is part of a statewide organization known as the Vermont Access Network. We've been working for the past several years to find a stable and permanent funding source for community media centers across the state. We've been successful in getting one-time bridge funding for the last few years as we were doing some research, and now we're ready to bring a proposal for a permanent solution to the legislature. To show support for our request, we're asking organizations to sign onto a letter of support, which we will share with legislators during the 2024 legislative season. This is not attached in tonight's packet, but I would be happy to share this with you and answer any questions. And very lastly, I want to thank Scott Moody, one of Town Meeting TV's field producers over in the corner, as well as Dawn, one of Town Meeting TV's trustees, for their dedication to municipal coverage and community media. Anything I left out, Megan?
Oh, that's great.
Great.
I will just say that Jordan has stepped up. Jordan started as an intern and as a volunteer with Town Meeting TV, and was recently, in the last couple of years, hired to take over leadership at Town Meeting TV. We have a really fantastic group of people that we're working with to support a little bit of what you see here. And then also, if you're ever tuning in on the channel, all of the various programming, internships, community events, etc., that Town Meeting TV under the umbrella of CCTV supports. So kudos to her. And I hope if you have any questions for us that we can answer, we would love to hear how things are working for you.
Right, great, thank you. Any questions from board members? Or Don, do you want to add anything? Comment?
No, they're a wonderful group to work with, though. Except they like numbers that I don't. But anyway, they've explained them to me, so I'm okay with them.
Go ahead, Ethan.
I just have a question because I'm curious, but your 5-year projection is $579,000.
I think the 5-year, what it's referring to is what we would hope to be turning into funding for the total operation from all of the municipal sources. But I think we have to, this entire project of having the municipal members contribute to the operating revenue of Town Meeting TV started when Comcast reclassified how they, their general accounting practices, and they reclassified how they saw their gross revenue. And we had a sharp decline because of that in our funding. And we came to the municipalities and we said, we need to see a way forward. Cable revenue is declining. We can't keep doing what we're doing. And then certainly during the pandemic, for example, the way we cover meetings changed, and the demand increased for the work that we do. And we can't keep up with increasing costs, increased demands, and declining revenue. And so in this next year or two, we're going to come back and figure out what our funding is going to look like. The municipal support is one leg of that stool. And the piece that Jordan talked about, going to the legislature and talking about finding new funding mechanisms for community media beyond cable revenue. So right now, the meetings that people are watching at home is paid for by people who subscribe to cable. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. And that is not a sustainable future, as you might imagine. Many people are doing what you call cutting the cord. And I say that because it's euphemistic, because the cord is still there. It's just bringing internet. It's not bringing cable television into the homes. And so we need to find a way to make sure that even if people aren't paying for cable, that same public right-of-way is returned to communities to use for this, to fund programs like this that provide access to the means of production and means of distributing community content. Does that sort of answer your question? I mean, it's probably a longer.
Curious. I was like,
It's a longer answer to your question, but yeah, yeah.
But thank you.
That was my question.
That's why it's important to support your petition to the legislature. help with that future funding.
Any other questions?
No questions for me. Just thank you for what you do.
Any questions from the public? I don't see any hands up.
I say hi, Bruce. We used to be on a CCTV board. Hi, Bruce.
I make it.
Nice to
Good
see you.
see you.
Although we can't. Yeah, good to see you. And then if there's any suggestions that you all have for us, I mean, Greg certainly is in touch with us and Marguerite, and we're happy to hear if there's anything we can do. When we installed this equipment, you all helped make that happen by paying for that equipment out of pandemic funding. I mean, out of ARPA funding. And we'll probably come back and there'll be some need, we'll see. This equipment's been doing pretty well, but we may want to talk about if there are any improvements that you want to make, and what it's going to look like in the next few years. So,
And since our town hall is no longer in our town, we will be moving. somewhere else, so
yeah. Is there a plan for that? And I mean, there's a plan for that, but is there a time frame for that?
We don't have a timeline.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much.
And we do appreciate Scott too.
We appreciate Scott more than he accepts.
I just have one more question really quick. I was just curious how you guys convinced him to let you touch the microphone.
He knows better. They're the boss.
Oh, dear.
That's good.
Notice that, did you?
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, there's Bruce. Good to see you.
He does have a hand. Bruce has a hand up.
Oh, Bruce, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I was on at the town of Essex representative to Town Meeting Television Channel 17 for about 3 years. I know how hard they work there in fulfilling their mission. And we've always talked about transparency and communication and trying to improve it here in Essex. But one of the foundations upon which we build is the existing arrangement we have with Town Meeting Television and Channel 17. I avail it myself of it every once in a while, as I am tonight. And we've seen how vital it is. I think a lot of people didn't realize it until the pandemic came around, and we started to get online more. And it's also an excellent record to go back and try to understand why something was done in the past. So that's just my endorsement from my experience. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Yep.
Good night.
Take care.
Okay, moving on to business item 5C, discussion about next steps and proposed changes to Town of Essex Charter. We have gone through the entire document with the first pass. I think Greg has provided us, there's a large format sheet with the comparisons. I think the discussion tonight, though, is about what we want to do next. I think options around that are to either try to pursue. There were several questions or sections that we deferred a deep discussion on. One was the ordinance section. Partly there was a lot of confusion about what the changes actually were. Also questions about whether we wanted to change the ordinance process. The other section was about town manager that we thought we needed to have a deeper discussion on. And then there was an annual meeting section. We also deferred. I think one of the questions around there was how moving everything to Australian ballot might affect that. And then there was also the question of whether we wanted to go forward with asking the legislature for a unique cannabis tax. I think those were the four. Did I miss any?
That sounds about right. There's lots of little stuff in there, but I think those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the big issue ones that might require larger discussions, and then the rest of it, a lot of the rest of it is clarifications, self-consistency changes, potentially legal reviews of language, those kind of things. So given that we are about to be, we're entering into the budget development portion of the year. The question is, how much do we want to devote to, how much time do we want to devote to continuing to work on these proposed charter changes? Another thing I guess to keep in mind is the last set of charter changes haven't been approved yet either. So we're to some degree working from a document that already has some changes requested to it. So it's just, yeah.
My question then is, what would happen if we put this aside until we heard what happened to our already voted on changes in legislation?
So it would defer the point in time that we would be able to vote on it, probably, most likely, unless the legislature takes up our original charter change very quickly, but then we would have a very short runway. Essentially,
But what would happen? I mean, if we just put this away for now and wait on those other 5 that are in the legislature?
Effectively, nothing would happen. Other than disappointment potentially from folks who wanted to see changes, or.
Well, my other recommendation was it's maybe to reconvene the charter committee and let them figure out what they were trying to sell you in their changes, so that you can understand what they were trying to do. Because technically, we never really heard from them. We got it in writing, but we did not hear from the committee itself. Personally, I'd like to wait and see if the 5 pass the legislature, because if they don't, and we're going to have to go back and revisit those too. So why not do it all at the same time? Because I truly think we're chasing our tails on this right now. And you're right. There's a lot more work coming up, and there's a lot more work that needs to be done on other things here in the town that should be our focus right now.
Okay, thanks, Don. Tracy?
Are charter changes like any other bill? If they're not taken up during the biennium, that they need to be reintroduced?
Yes. Yes.
So if we submit more changes and they're not taken up, we would have to resubmit them next.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So right now, the 5 there will still, they can consider them during the upcoming session in January. But if they don't, then we're starting from scratch. So that's what I'm saying.
I like Don's idea. I think we have a ton of notes. I say we hand them, the charter committee, hand them this. Let them have the notes and everything, so they know what we thought of it. If they didn't all watch the meetings, and if we don't like that option, then I would recommend that we staple some of those high item conversations. If we don't want to pass along, then we take one every light meeting we have. Add in one. We just do one subsection at a time that we need to have a big conversation about. That way we wouldn't be preparing anything for a vote, but we'd at least be making progress on.
So you're suggesting we do that in the near term, or?
Yeah, I would say if we're not gonna allow the charter committee to reconvene and work on it, then I would say it's our responsibility to add it to any meeting we had a little bit of time to have those big conversations. So, but I'm open to Don's suggestion. I think that's a good idea.
And on your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say Don's suggestion is a good one. I was prepared to say if we had 1 or 2 pretty much completed that we wanted to work on, I'd be willing to do that. I couldn't remember if we had. I thought we had a couple that there were really minor changes.
Yeah, there are a lot of language changes that could potentially go forward with legal review, and
yeah.
But is it worth having a vote for that?
Exactly.
Question.
Until the whole thing is complete and everybody's happy with it. Yeah, there's no point nitpicking little things at this point.
Tracy, anything else you wanted to?
I don't think so. I was just looking through for anything that couldn't think of it off the top of my head, but anything that may be time bound that we would want to include earlier. Nothing comes to mind, so I was just quickly reading through to see if I'm missing something in my brain, which is a definite possibility.
So I was going to ask for a reaction from Greg, but should we go to public comment first so that we're reacting to one set of comments first? So anybody want to, public want to make any comments about how we proceed with these charter changes? I see Bruce Post, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bruce Post, 1 Cindy Lane. I was on the charter committee, and I do think that Lauren, our chair, did present to the select board what we came up with. We have a pending proposal in the legislature, and my concern is I would hope the select board and others would get behind that. It's past the people, and that we try to move that through the upcoming session of the legislature. And I would not want to see the legislature get the impression, well, Essex is having second thoughts, and maybe we should wait on this until they've deliberated on these other things that could effectively kill what we voted on previously, because again, it's the second session, and if nothing goes through, it has to be started all over again. So I'd like to see us emphasize at least trying to get what the people have already approved and move that through, because I don't know what kind of timing you can have on this this year. You're not considering calling a vote for November, are you?
Okay.
Yeah, so I would like
Yeah.
I would like to see, I mean, I could, as a citizen, I could, I'll weigh in with my, our reps here, our 2 reps in the House. And I think Senator Bohofsky's on the Senate GovOps committee, I think. And, the village, they were able to move their new city charter through a pretty darn fast. And once it passed the House, and it was a time when they had a lot of other charter changes going through from other communities. So I hope, and reapportionment too. I just hope we can try to put an emphasis on what we've already passed, and then see what we do afterwards. I understand Burlington's always sending down charter amendments. So just because we might pass one through the legislature next year doesn't foreclose us doing anything further. So thank you, and I'm available for any questions about what I remember about our process on the charter committee. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. I saw Margaret's hand up next.
I hate to walk all the way up here just to say I agree with Bruce, and I think you guys are going to have so much work to do on the budget. I don't envy you that process at all. If you take this off the table for now, it will release a whole lot of brain power for working on the budget. And I did want to say I printed out the bits, and there's never a key that explains what the colors mean. And I wish, it's blue. So why is it blue? Why is it black? Why is it green? Just, just a little note at the top saying what those colors indicate would be helpful trying to go through and read it. But yeah, I think it would be a really good idea. Yeah. And I'd be willing to come back and work on it. And as Bruce would, I don't know about the other 3 folks, but given more, even over the span of next year, do what we already sent them and was approved, and then take your time sorting through this instead of trying to make it a hurried process. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Lorraine.
Thank you, Chair Watts. I concur with Don Fleury and with Bruce and Margaret. I sat in on a number of those charter committee meetings. They were robust. They were well discussed, and the labor was largely free, except for the staff that attended it. And there's a lot of work that goes behind this, and our staffing is hit pretty hard, they work pretty hard, and I would love to see more of their time freed up if we utilized more of a volunteer base. And also, please, yes, put a key to the charter, because it is very confusing to read the notes in terms of the way it's laid out. It'd be a lot easier and more efficient for members of the public to be able to help and be more engaged if we could understand some of those notes better. And so I would appreciate a reconvening of the committee and a call out if not all of them want to rejoin. Thanks.
Thanks, Lorraine. Any other comments or questions? So Greg, a reconvening of the charter committee, is that something that's could be supported, or is it?
Yeah, I think as long as they're, as Bruce and Margaret alluded to it, as long as they're available and willing to do it, I think that's something we can do. Might take a little time to get some staff to support them, but yeah, no, honestly, I feel a weight come off a little bit as I hear you all speak. Even just getting one or two of these things done in the next month and a half really would have been a big lift with some of the other stuff we have going on. So happy to hear that. We can definitely keep this moving, and I can reach out to the charter review committee members to see if they're interested and think about how to provide them some staff support based on their availability.
So the options would be there's going to be a vote in November next year, or town meeting. Town meeting, you generally have to, if you don't want to do a town meeting, you have to warn by the end of January.
That you couldn't do it by then.
I don't think we could do it by November. Yeah, would be really tough, I think. So.
Plus, we're not going to know until probably June 1st if the Arctis in Montpelier even goes anywhere.
They're close, and Andy and I had some.
Well, they were, but then
the
other things bumped it away. So who knows what else might come up and bump it away.
Yeah.
And as far as staff support, we really just need somebody that can keep us online, and it's the technical part that we had trouble with. So the rest of the committee, they're very good at note taking and minutes and all that, but it was the technical part that we need help with.
All right, so the consensus is to defer more discussion on this, refer it back to the charter committee if they're willing to regroup on that, and targeting potentially town meeting 2025 for additional updates. And we'll follow through and make sure that we have communications with the legislature about getting what we have already before them for this year. So
thank you all.
Okay. You got what you need, Greg?
I do. Thank you.
All right. Hey, the next business item is discussion about negotiating and securing real estate purchase or lease options. We'll do that in executive session. Consent.
I make the motion we accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tracy. Any further discussion?
Change in the minutes. The first motion for the agenda change was a 4-1 vote. You voted no.
I did.
Right. That was just a change to the minutes. And then I would just make a comment on the speed study. Looking at the data and everything, it looks like most of the traffic, 95%, is going 40, 42 miles an hour already. I was curious if the police are involved with where they actually set up the zones for the 40 mile an hour, because it seems like a natural transition at the bottom of the hill to go to 40 versus back at the middle of the flats there.
Yeah, I don't know if we can speak to how the state.
I'm just curious how that.
You talking about how it was set up the way it is now, or how it would be in the future?
It's the way it's set up now. I agree. It doesn't make any sense to go to 40 beyond the top of the hill. But I couldn't tell from the report whether they're talking about reducing starting 40 back at Saxon Hill, or where the transition zone was going to be. And I was just going to suggest that the bottom of the hill to go to 40 tends to make more sense just because of where it is.
Oh, I mean coming the other. Okay, yeah. Coming towards the Whitcomb.
Yeah, as you're coming from Jericho, I think my understanding of reading the memo was that they were going to move the speed limit sign to where the speed limit where the sign is that says the speed limit is going to change.
Right.
And then put a sign earlier than that that says the speed limit is going to change, so that it will be at the bottom of the hill. That's
Okay.
where the,
That was I was
that's where the-
confused as to
that's
where
that's the way I read it. But,
Yep.
I think that's right. We can certainly double check
Yeah.
that and pass on your comments. My understanding of how they set the speeds is that V-Trans will now do its study. They've been aware of this. I think they're willing to do the change. They just formally needed a request from the select board. We can certainly pass on these comments as part of that too.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. And the police are involved with those studies as well as recommendations. They make recommendations as well, right?
They can weigh in. The ones I've seen have really been driven by traffic analysis, traffic engineers. I take that back. Largely driven by traffic engineers. They also factor in police reports, accidents, safety issues. So in that sense, the police can absolutely weigh in, and the police can certainly weigh in anyways. It's just a question of how much the deciders are going to take the police input versus the traffic analysis engineer input, or some combination of the two.
Okay, great. That was my question. Thank you.
I just had a question on responsiveness because there still has yet to be anything done with Irene Ave.
No, there has been actually. They've shifted the speed limit sign. They painted not a full blown crosswalk, but they put
Yeah.
some markers in there. They're not going to put up the flashing beacons that we requested. There was a. I'll track it down. We
But
had a letter
the
at some
sign,
point.
the crosswalk sign is still at the crosswalk, in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. It's 5 feet away from the crosswalk.
I'll track down. We got a letter from V-Trans telling us what they were going to do, so I'll track that down and share that with you and make sure that they've done what they've said they would.
I'm just curious because I saw this and I saw the 40 to 50-mile-an-hour zone, and I was traveling there, and it's set up similarly the same way. And I had asked somebody who was just an employee of V-Trans, I said, what is the reasoning for that? And they always say that if the turn is on the right-hand side, then they base the speed limit on an adjourning road. So if there's a road here, that's where the speed limit change would be. But if there's not on the other side, it'll be where the speed limit changes. That's where they get the 40, 50. You know, where the speed limit's 40 one way and 50 the other. Kind of like over at Irene. Because it's set up similarly in this location. So I'm just curious what the remedy would be, because I haven't noticed the speed limit sign changed over there. I'll have to double check.
I thought it did, but I drive it as often, probably less often as you.
I
But
don't think
it's often enough. I'll double
You guys
check.
stopped noticing, huh?
Yeah, no, I check it every day.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of approving consent, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those say nay. Okay, consent is approved. 0. Reading file. Board member comments.
I'm sorry.
Reading file?
We have to prove that, right?
No, we don't have to
My,
prove
my
it.
brain just went.
No, just
I have a comment. I have a couple comments actually. I'm gonna remember it now. I really want to thank Tammy Getchell, and her whole crew for Explore Essex.
Yeah.
Having participated in this activity for the last 3 years. 3 years of rain, by the way. But this was the best one by far. One, it was wonderful that we could move it inside, but the attendance, it was spectacular. Compared to anything else we've done in the past couple of years, it was amazing. And the people that we met and the people that we saw and the hard work that went into it, it's just, I want to make sure they all get thanked. And I know that was quite the crew working there. So
It was huge. Thank you. I'll be happy to pass that on if I may, and if you'll indulge me. Tammy was a huge part of that. As you heard earlier, the Essex Park and Rec Department was as well. Allie, Jen, Nicole, Public Works was there doing work. Catherine Sonic from Community Development, Gino Sullivan from Economic Development put a lot of work into the planning and efforts. Blake Getchell did a lot of work, ended up volunteering at the end too. Plus Public Works, Tom Yandow was there all day. The police were there. Chief Hoig, John Rutenberg was there. So just a tremendous effort from all staff. And yeah, I think it was a great event and a lot of work went into it. So it was nice to see it come together and see the community respond and come out the way they did too.
I just make sure.
Thank you for all your support. And
you know.
yeah, Andy, Tracy, Don, you all volunteered. Ethan was there, brought some equipment. So thanks for all your
Yeah,
support
job
too.
well done.
Ethan learned he liked pecan pie. I think that's pretty funny.
I want the recipe.
But anyway, I also want to make sure that we follow up, and we heard it tonight from multiple people about the Narcan and the fentanyl strips and getting them out in the public and And I guess would the purchase of those come through like the opioid settlement money? Would that
somewhat.
If we can't get
and-
them? Could we get them that way?
Somewhat. So we have been having conversations about this, and Marguerite, definitely jump in at any point. It's a complicated thing, and it's an issue. It's real. It's here. It's in Essex. Part of that conversation is what we can get from the state at a low cost or no cost to have doses available in the town offices, in the library, at some of our other municipal facilities, and that would be just for a couple of emergency doses, whether it's somebody in the parking lot. My understanding is that it's such a dangerous, potent drug that even if you're not using, if it gets on your skin from somebody else, you can overdose. And so our police carry them, our first responders in the fire department, Essex Rescue carry them. Some of the overdoses are coming from those first responders who are trying to help somebody else. They get some of the drug on them, they need to use the Narcan. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Long term, my understanding is that the doses cost about $45 a pop. You can get them over the counter, but if we start to talk about becoming a distribution center, that becomes not just a budget thing. Budget is part of it too, but are then we becoming a different provider of something that's not really our mission? It's a real problem out there, but it's a question of how much resources do we provide to try to deal with that. My understanding of the settlement funds, and for those who don't know, the town has received some settlement funds from the opioid lawsuits that got paid out to a lot of municipalities. We have to use them towards prevention, whereas the Narcan is not quite prevention. The test strips might qualify. Right now, we apply a lot of that money towards the community outreach team at Howard Center, who does a lot of work with us. So that's kind of what we're trying to navigate. And Marguerite, please jump in if there's anything else that I missed.
What about Greg getting public service information out there that is an issue in Essex? I mean, the more I hear, I mean, I wasn't even aware of it until I started looking at things and then observing people in the parking lot at a shopping center. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But just to let people know, it's an issue here in Essex, and we need to at least talk to our kids about it. That it's out there.
Yeah, let me give it some thought as you've heard tonight, and I don't in any way mean to diminish the severity of this. We're busy, and so trying to figure out how to factor that in and how to help the community while also getting our business done is going to be have to give that some thought.
Thank you.
Greg, can I just jump in here too? That our experts here are fire and rescue and police on this topic. And they are not new to this. Unfortunately, this has been going on. And yes, I think we've all heard in the news recently this uptick that's been going on in Burlington and trickling around here. But we work closely with them every day. We had a safety committee in house. This was brought up there too. And so we are listening to their expert advice to make sure that we're also keeping our personnel safe, and that we're keeping those in the area safe and making things as accessible as possible, and without the stigma. So it's a lot of things to consider, and you definitely want the experts in the room when they do when we're thinking about these things. And so that's kind of our route. I will say, for the opioid abatement funding, Don, you asked about that. So far we've put it toward community outreach. The testing strips are available. There are also some state programs that they're just starting to roll out for towns specifically. Obviously, the library has come up in other conversations, and our fire and rescue already participate in these programs. And so our town office might also be able to as well, and that's the one that we've been looking into for the library. So there's a lot of different sort of levels of participation in this, and so we've been really relying on our emergency experts, Chief Hoig and Chief, I don't know if you call Colleen a Chief Dwyer. Is that still her last name? And then Chief Cole. Is it Dwyer? She changed her name. That was
Ballard.
Anyway, Solid. So, but they've definitely been on these conversations. So we're really following their lead and making sure that this can be as safe as possible as well for everyone who might be using, for our entire community, and helping our entire community at the same time think about this. And like you said, I think, getting the news and education out, that's something that we can think about too, and just see maybe, I'm sure EWSD is doing stuff, but, maybe partnering there as well with some of our other community members and what they're working on for that, because it's a very big crisis, as we've all said, and definitely in our young population as well. So that's all I got for now.
Thank you, Marguerite.
I'm curious if the Department of Health has resources for community education, things to look for. They may already have like an education toolkit that we could utilize, or at least use as a starting point.
Yeah, they definitely have handouts and stuff. But yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any comments? Tracy?
Last week we had the first meeting for the noise exposure map update for Burlington Airport and the FAA. It was largely a level setting event, explaining, decibels and how they're monitored, and essentially what we're doing there. So it was more introductory than anything else. But we'll be meeting. I think the next meeting is in early November.
All right. Thanks, Tracy. I do want to point out and remind board members that we have an all-day budget session on November 14th. That's here.
Yes.
And so make sure you mark your calendars and plan on that. Or let us know you're not going to be there.
It's not highlighted in yellow, but it is on the schedule now.
Yeah, it's not a special. It's not highlighted as if it was a special meeting, although it says it's a special meeting. It's not yellow. Yes.
As you know, Tammy's out, so I forgot about the color coding. I will
That's
pass
okay.
that on
I wasn't
get
gonna
it
bring it
updated.
up. But
I can only do so much.
All right, so now we need some, at least a motion for.
I move the select board enter an executive session to discuss the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A2, and to include the town manager and deputy town manager.
You Don, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ethan. Any further discussion? Not going to come. We won't come back to the online meeting because we won't be making any decisions after that.
Thank everyone for being here, though.
Yep. And all those in favor of entering into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And passes 5-0. And yes, thank you everyone for your attendance and for your attention. And hope to see you again soon.